thanks everyone for attending this session about the nursing courses and PR pathways. So me and Michelle will be discussing about the education point of view for the nursing courses and the permanent residency migration pathways. What could be the possibility in this financial year and how it was in the last financial year for the nursing occupation. And I'll be discussing about the skill assessment requirement and the registration requirement. Okay, so if you have any questions in between, you can write it down in the chat box, and we'll try to cover most of the questions at the end of the session. And if you still have any further questions, or if you want to get a detailed consultations, then you can contact our nearest branch to your location, and we can organize an appointment with our registered migration agent. So as Michelle will be first discussing about the education and the different university about the nursing courses, like for enrolled nurse, for registered nurse course for a bachelor and the master. So once she will be finishing her session, then also you can write down all of your questions about the education as well in the chat box, and we will cover both education and migration questions at the end of the session. And please be interactive in the session, put as many questions as you have, so that you can solve your doubt. And if anyone else have their doubts about the same questions, so we will be answering the questions for that as well. So as we have more than 50 attendees now, so I would request Michelle, if you can start the session, so that we can try to cover many questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirav. Can you confirm to me if you can see my screen, just to make sure?
Yes, well, yeah, I can see your screen.
Right, okay, all good. Again, everyone, good afternoon and welcome to today's session, which is the nursing courses in Australia and its permanent residency pathway. I am Michelle Aussizz. I'm Senior Education Consultant at Aussizz Group for 5 years. I will be discussing with you about nursing courses, matter, and later, again, as mentioned with Nirav, he will be discussing its permanent residency pathway, because I guess you are all dreading to know all this possibility to permanent residency in nursing qualification. So, so why nursing profession? Nursing is one of the most diverse health profession and provides employment opportunities in Australia and overseas. If you are here in Australia, especially during the height of the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, healthcare professionals, including nurses, were given high regards by the Australian government and open opportunities for them to be eligible for state nominations and any other migration pathway. So we have two divisions when it comes to nursing registration. Number one, the Division 1, which falls under with the registered nurse, those who are completed Bachelor of Nursing or those who have converted their nursing qualification from offshore to become a nurse in Australia. And we have the Division 2, which is the enrolled nurse, only those who completed with the Diploma of Nursing. So again, registration, we have the enrolled nurse and the registered nurse. Registered nurse, we have the generic term, which is the RN-NEC. However, in Australia, there are a lot of specialization. If you are a registered nurse, you can be working in aged care nurse, you can be a community nurse, pediatric nurse, emergency nurse, mental health nurse. As you can see in my screen, there are plenty of them, and it's not just limited in this specialization. So basically, all of this specialization that you're working with, when we're working as a generic nurse, you are called as a staff nurse, right? But if you are working with specialization in this area, in the community wide, then your potential or probability when it comes to getting a residency, which will be explained by Nirav later on, will be high. So we have the registration body or accreditation council. Courses should be accredited by the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council, or ANMAC. AFRA is the agency where you can get your registration as a nurse after completing a degree or qualification. Australian Health Practitioner Agency. NMBA, Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia, which is responsible for maintaining the register of nurses and midwives and issuing codes, guidelines, and statements which govern the nursing and midwifery in Australia. So if you are a nurse from your home country, you're not a nurse in Australia, because Australian nursing regulation, they have their kind of very strict standards that you need to meet in order for you to become or to convert your nursing qualification from offshore to become a registered nurse in Australia, which I will be discussing in my next slides. Okay, so Australian nursing courses should be accredited by AFRA. Be careful when it comes to getting admissions from different providers, because if your course is not registered by AFRA or not approved by the NMBA, or the program you're doing is not approved by this council, then you cannot get registration even after completing the course. So the course should be accredited and approved by the Accreditation Council. Why? It is for you to be eligible to get an Australian nursing registration, to be eligible for ANMAC skills assessment. Why you need skills assessment? It's because it is mandatory should you consider for your permanent residency. Okay, again, it will be discussed by Nirav later on. Now, what are the nursing courses in Australia? Nurses in Australia classified into two types. Again, enrolled nurse or EN, those who have completed Bachelor Diploma of Nursing. Registered nurse or RN, those who will be or who have completed bachelor or master degree level. Diploma of Nursing, we have graduate certificate, diploma in nursing, bachelor in nursing, or the conversion course. We have Master of Nursing, we have PhD in nursing, and if you've heard from the past, we had regime program for nurses, which was called Iron Program, which has been abolished in February 2020, and now it has been replaced with the outcomes-based assessment. So if you are a nurse from your origin country, you can convert by doing the OBA, although it's a lengthy process, but if you have query about this one, we can give you information separately. Levels of nursing qualification. Number one, Diploma of Nursing. The duration of the course depending which provider. Minimum, most of the providers, they're running the course for 1.5 years. For other providers, they're running the course for 2 years. Entry requirement, you should be at least, if you're an international student, at least you should be 18 years old or above, with the prerequisite subjects. You have completed at least year 12 or equivalent from your origin country. English requirement. In Australia study, nursing profession or nursing courses, even in diploma level, even in the bachelor and master level, entry requirement, English language requirement is mandatory to get all 7 in IELTS or all 65 in PTE. And there are as well other tests which is acceptable, like the OET and Cambridge test for you to use for your English requirement. These ranges for the Diploma of Nursing ranges from 25,000 to 39,000, again, depending in which school you are going to get the qualification. After you finish the Diploma of Nursing, you are getting the registration as an enrolled nurse. So if you're working in the sector, in the health sector, so as an enrolled nurse, I believe you are under somehow of the low level than the registered nurse. After getting enrolled nurse, you have the option actually to do Bachelor of Nursing. All right, so common intakes for Diploma of Nursing, commonly for universities, it's July and February, and every 2 months for other providers, and there are providers as well who are running 3 times in a year. So it depends which provider. So Bachelor of Nursing, duration is 3 years if you start from the first year. However, if you have completed in Australia Diploma of Nursing, instead of doing the Bachelor of Nursing for 3 years, the duration of the Bachelor of Nursing, if you have completed Diploma of Nursing, it will now only be for 2 years. But you cannot enroll for Bachelor of Nursing without getting enrolled nursing registration. So it's a prerequisite, right? So again, the age and year 12, if you're coming from your origin country, you are just 18 years old, you just completed year 12, there are universities or education providers that do not qualify you to go straight Bachelor of Nursing, but instead they will let you initially start their Diploma of Health Science or Bachelor of Health Science, and then you can go next to their second year of Bachelor of Nursing, because not every country meet the criteria of the eligibility of every education provider. So they can package it either with Diploma of Health or Bachelor of Health Science initially before you can go straight to Bachelor of Nursing. But there are countries as well that even after completing your year 12, you can straight away go directly with their Bachelor of Nursing. Again, every country has different eligibility in which providers. Again, English eligibility for IELTS ranges from 69,000 to 90,000 annually, depending on education provider. Semester, depending to which provider, 14,000 to 17,600. And providers have their own assessment if the student is eligible for bursary or scholarship. Other providers offers special scholarship in specific intake dates. Let's say, for example, this July intake, if we are onshore, there are providers that offering 10% to 20% of scholarship if you join their intake for this year. But if you are from offshore, again, it depends where are they in their intake period, and then they are proposing any scholarship. There are universities as well that they are looking at your academic history from the past. They're assessing it, then you might be eligible for scholarship in lines with your academic performance from the past. So Bachelor of Nursing conversion course. I guess many of you have heard about the conversion course for those who are already registered nurse from your origin country. You can do Bachelor of Nursing in Australia instead of 3 years or instead of 2 years. You can actually do the course just for 1 year. So that is called conversion course because you already have completed bachelor level from your origin country. And at the same time, you should have a minimum work experience to be eligible, at least 1 year within the last 5 years. So if you are a registered nurse from your origin country and you have working experience from the last 5 years, then instead of doing the course for 3 years, you can just do the course just for 1 year. In other university, like for example, Australian Catholic University, if you have just completed your Bachelor of Nursing within the last 2 years, then they can consider you by giving you 1 year credit, and they will just give you 2 years duration of the course. Again, it depends with the recency of your study and or recency of your employment. If you don't have working experience, but you just recently completed your bachelor degree, then you can get credits a minimum or at least 1 year. So if your degree has been completed more than 3 years ago, then you have the work experience minimum of 1 year, then you can be eligible for just 1 year Bachelor of Nursing conversion course. Fees, it's 17,000 to 18,000. Sorry, I guess I will make a correction in this area here. Yesterday, I just got an offer letter for a conversion course at Deakin University. They now increased for the 2023 intake. It is now 18,600. So they just increased $1,000. Intakes, it depends which education provider. It depends which state. They only run the program either once a year, every February or March intake only, and or twice a year. For example, Deakin University, they used to run from 2020 to 2021 until now. They just run it for one semester, like one intake only every March. But they open two intakes for next 2023 because there has been a massive enrollee converting their qualification because nurses has a very good potential when it comes to residency pathway. Level of nursing, again, another one, the Master of Nursing. So there are two types of Master of Nursing. We have the Master of Nursing, the coursework or the graduate entry, and we have the Master of Nursing Advanced. So do not be confused about these two types of Master of Nursing. The Master of Nursing coursework or the graduate entry, the basic requirement, of course, the English, you should be in the health and medical field or non-related undergraduate degree. And most universities, there are only 9 universities across Australia running Master of Nursing who are AFRA accredited. Again, be careful. When it comes to doing nursing course, especially for the Master of Nursing, the course should be accredited by AFRA and NMBA because there are other providers running the same program, but they are not accredited. If the school or the program is not accredited, then you're just wasting your time because you cannot get your registration if you are looking for the registration. But if you just want to get the qualification, you are not looking after for the registration, then you can do that course, okay? So entry requirement, again, for other universities, it should be health or medical related field, but there are universities as well that they accept even you don't have a non-related medical or health-related undergraduate or non-related bachelor degree. Just to give you an example, Darwin University, CDU, Charles Darwin University, they accept admission for those who had a bachelor degree in accounting. As long as you have a very good motivation on why doing the course, then they accept a non-related degree holder to do Master of Nursing to get the registration afterwards. So if you are in the health-related or medical field, you should have done in your subjects from your bachelor degree, at least human biology, autonomy, and physiology. Again, it depends which provider, because again, there are providers that they don't require this one, even we don't have a health-related qualification in your bachelor degree. Fees ranges from 60,000 to 75,000, depending on the provider and depending on which state. Again, we have different states in Australia, different providers. Every providers, they have their own fees. So the second type of Master of Nursing is the advanced. Okay, Bachelor of Nursing degree holder and a registered nurse from origin country, you can do the Master of Nursing advanced. But again, you can no longer get the registration by doing this Master of Nursing advanced. Outcome, you can get the qualification of master degree, no registration needed. But if you just want to get the qualification, then you can do the course. Okay, so regional state courses, as you can see in the screen, every state, they have their own diploma and bachelor and master of nursing education providers. If you need assistance for us to guide you getting your offer letter to whichever state you are, then we can help you along the way. And nursing courses in states, they're available outside, but limited providers depending which state. So nursing courses are not like any other courses that there are plenty of providers. For nursing, there are just limited providers. Why? It's because the university or the provider has to arrange placements for you. And the more they accommodate numbers of nursing students, they will be having problems to assign you for your placement. That's why it's only limited, because they're also limiting their capacity to give the best standards when it comes to the delivery of nursing and healthcare professions. Diploma level available both private providers and universities. Bachelor of Nursing, they're mostly available from universities in every state. And Master of Nursing, as mentioned earlier, there are only 9 universities across Australia. If you're sitting in Victoria, then there are only 2 universities. If you're sitting in CDU, I mean in Darwin, there's only one university. If you are sitting in WA, then there are 3 or 4 universities, okay? So again, very limited providers in the Master of Nursing. Employment projection. Nursing is the largest of the healthcare profession in Australia, especially during the pandemic up to post-pandemic. I guess we are not fully back to normal because there's still COVID ongoing, which is the last variant. During the pandemic, again, as mentioned, the government give high regards to the nursing profession overall in the healthcare profession. It is expected to increase by at least 15.6% by 2025. It falls under a medium to long term in Australia's demand. That means it falls under that gives you residency pathway. Demand for nurses in Australia, it keeps growing steadily over the years. So the job market, again, if you go with your nursing profession, you can never go wrong. It increased by 50.1% or 84,200 job advertisements compared to prior pandemic. Again, it increased during the pandemic and even after the pandemic, and it will go indefinitely for nursing profession. It is the largest increasing occupation as compared to pre-COVID to post-COVID. Right. I guess I have covered much of the courses. I don't want to detail or give more information for this one because I know you are aiming to get questions for the permanent residency pathway. If you have questions about nursing related courses admission, then I'm happy to take your questions. I have question here from Arnold. I am studying diploma at TAFE. Fees only 22K. Lucky for you, Arnold. As mentioned, it depends when did you apply for your course, because as mentioned earlier in my slide, depending which provider, because they give bursary and they give scholarship as well. But again, depending which provider, and it depends when did you get your admission, because they are giving scholarship from time to time, and maybe you got lucky because during that time you only get 22K for the duration of the course. What else for your question? I guess that's the only question, not actually a question, but it was just an information. I guess enrolled nurse course in Queensland. Dipankar, I'm sorry, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Enrolled nurse course in Queensland. Again, every state there are providers. Okay, so we can help you with that one. Should you reach out to us when it comes to admission process, which are accredited and is EN eligible for 491 in the state's region. Miraf, can you help me with this? Which are accredited and is EN eligible for 491? Right, okay, which are accredited? I'm not sure which is your question if you're talking accredited courses. So most education providers, they are running the course being accredited because they cannot run the program if they are not accredited, especially for the Diploma of Nursing. So if they are running the course, it should be accredited if they're accepting enrollment for that one. And for the 491 in any states, Nirav will answer your questions for that one. And right, so most of the questions are most for the permanent residency. I will turn you over with Nirav to take the presentation from here on. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, Michelle. That was such a good information, I think, for all of our viewers. And I think everyone now should have a good understanding of the different course levels for nursing. So like for Diploma of Nursing, Bachelor of Nursing, Master of Nursing. And there are like different kind of master level courses as well that you explained in detail. And we'll be discussing now for the permanent residencies and the registration and the skill assessment pathways and what will be the prediction for this year. and the about the different occupations and all. So again, like if you still have any questions while like we are presenting, you can put it into the comment box. And don't forget to like shout out about the Aussizz group in the link provided in the chat box, as like we are providing a giveaway for free 2 months PT coaching, free CCL coaching, like free TR consultation, and for free PR consultation. So you can go get those giveaways if you like found out about the Aussizz group and Aussizz Conclave 2022. So we can come up with a better and a good program for the next year, for next year conclave. So let's just start for the presentation. So like, you know, as we know that the nursing is like one of the critical occupation you can consider. It was critical before, but after the COVID, like all of the governments across the world are focusing more towards the health, you know, as like it was very important during the COVID time to have enough resources for all the countries. So at the same time, Australia realized that as well, and they are putting more and more nurses like in hospitals and backing up with more resources in advance. So if such thing happens in the future, they have all kind of resources available. So we have seen in last 2 years during COVID time that all of this state government and the federal government as well has provided more number of visa pathways for the health sectors, you know, in terms of skill migration, in terms of like COVID, 408 temporary activity visa. So like we can say that if you planning to study this course and if you think that it will be difficult for you to get the permanent residency, it won't be like that, you know. Like if you get a job in your field, like as a nurse, as an enrolled nurse, or as a registered nurse, wherever you are studying, like in whichever state, as long as you have some uh, points around 65 to 80 points, you know, in those range, you have highly likely to get the invitation at least for skilled regional visa, you know. So that's we will be discussing in details as well. So as an introduction, like as I just mentioned, that nurses now have a global career demand, you know, due to the COVID, and definitely it will be there for a longer duration rather than like short term, because health is one of the industry which uh, no country should compromise on that one, you know. So as Michelle discussed about the different course levels, so there are different occupations as well in a nurse. So I mentioned in the like slide, so there should be nurse manager, like there should be specialist nurse. So there are like registered nurse in different like department, like in aged care, in emergency care and all. There is an enrolled nurse, there is a personal care assistant. So level of occupation I mentioned in the slide is like from nurse manager as level 1, then level 2 as a nurse practitioner, level 3 registered nurse, level 4 enrolled nurse. So that's like whichever is the higher level occupation in terms of the career for the registered nurse. And that is a career pathways as well in your job and for a permanent residency pathway as well. So what are the difference between enrolled nurse and registered nurse? If you have done the accredited diploma course for an enrolled nurse, you can get a registration as an enrolled nurse. And for a registered nurse, you need to do minimum bachelor or master level of qualification. And enrolled nurse is like, you know, starting level of occupations after PCA for a nurse, you know, and whereas registered nurse has more responsibilities and more skills required towards the nurse qualification. And that registration called as an RN, registered nurse, and whereas EN registration called as an EN, enrolled nurse registration. Okay, so registration and assessment of qualification. So first, registration is looking after by Australian Practitioner Health Regulation Agency, and that has different like medical occupations like medical practitioners and the occupational therapist and all. It also has the NMBA, which is Nursing Midwifery Board of Australia. They are the responsible for providing the registration through APRA. So that is the step one for all the applicants who are looking for a permanent residency pathway after studying the course in enrolled nurse and the register nurse. Step two would be after getting a registration, you need to get a skill assessment, and that is provided by Australian Nursing and Midwifery Accreditation Council. So that calls NMAC. So after getting a registration from APRA as an EN or as an RN, we need to apply for the skill assessment. And skill assessment is one of the mandatory requirement to apply for the permanent residency pathways. And we need to have a provisional skill assessment requirement for the TR, previously, and they have temporarily removed that provisional skill assessment requirement for TR. So why I bring this topic here, because enrolled nurse is like part of a short-term skilled occupation list. So now even applicants who have studied enrolled nurse diploma, they should be eligible to apply for the TR from 1st July, which was not possible before 1st of July, because enrolled nurse is a part of a short-term skilled occupation list. And if you have done the diploma, you need to add skill assessment for a long-term skilled occupation list. So that is one of the good news for all the applicants for the Diploma of Nursing qualification. As if you complete 2 years of qualification for a Diploma of Nursing, which is 92 weeks registered, then without getting a provisional skill assessment, you can apply for the TR for 2 years. And that is a graduate workstream pathway. So that is step one and step two for registration and assessment qualification for enrolled nurse and registered nurse. Now, so for registered nurse, there is an outcome-based assessment pathway for the registration, which used to be like IRON program thing. If everyone know before that I mentioned here, that was called old IRON program for all the applicants who studied overseas. So whoever studied here in Australia, which is an accredited course, then it is very straightforward for them to get the registration as an RN and skill assessment and as an RN, because that course is already accredited. But what for those who has not studied the accredited course overseas or in Australia, so they need to go through an outcome-based assessment pathway. So in that one, there are actually 3 steps, I would say. So first is you need to do an online self-check. So in that one, you need to put all your details, provide the documents and all. They will tell you that you will be eligible for the second step or not. So after providing that, there will be orientation program as well, as per the Australian work standard and work culture. So that is similar to the IRON program. And once you complete that, then there is 2 exams. So there are 2 exams you need to go for the. So one is the online MCQ exams, which is designed by National Council of State Nursing Boards. And the second step would be objective structure clinical examination. So once you complete your MCQ exam for online for a registered nurse, then you need to go for the clinical examination. And that is mandatory for all the nurses who are applying from overseas. There are certain countries like USA, UK, Canada, maybe New Zealand, where if you have studied the accredited courses from those countries and if you are a passport holder of those countries, then there could be an exemption for the OBA and you may go for the assessment or registration straight away, same as studying in Australia. But particularly from countries Asia, throughout Asia, like India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, like Vietnam, Philippines and all, if they have studied from those countries, then they might need to go through this process to complete the registration pathway. And after completing the registration pathway, they can go for the NMAC skill assessment pathway. So here I have just made it simple, which pathway you need to follow. So if you completed the qualification which is relevant to the nursing and it is equivalent as well and accredited, you just need to complete the orientation and go for the registration. If your qualification is relevant, but it is not equivalent to the requirement as per APRA, then they can't go for the orientation straight away. They need to do the OBA. So OBA will require you to complete the self online assessment. Then they need to go for the MCQ test, and then they need to go for the clinical examination, and then they can get the registration. If they have a qualification which is not relevant, completely like let's say if you have studied Bachelor of Pharmacy, then they might not give you the registration at all because you should not have studied the nursing subjects as a part of the qualification. So this can give you a clear understanding of which steps you need to follow based on your qualification subjects and qualification type. So PR pathway. So this is in a brief. So in the step wise, if you have studied your course as a diploma, bachelor, master, so first complete your study, then try to get your registration through APRA, then apply for a skill assessment through NMAC. Then we can see, or we can think about applying for different visas. If you don't have the skill assessment, then it will be like difficult for you to apply for the skill migration pathway or permanent employer sponsored visa pathway. However, there are some temporary visa pathways which doesn't require a skill assessment at first stage, but at least you need to get the provisional registration or full registration. So for 189, that is a skill independent visa, and it is operated by federal government. So if you have minimum 65 points independently, you can apply for the expression of interest, and you can wait for the invitation. So they currently immigration is doing invitation like quarterly. So they are doing it like every 3 months. So they have done it last in April. They will be doing most likely one in July, around mid or end of July. And we can see that in the last invitation round or before that, they have invited some of the nurses as well. And that was around 85 to 90 points for most of the nurses occupation for 189. However, like for 189 program, they reduced lots of quota since last 2 years. But in this financial year for 2022 to 2023, they have increased their quota by 3 times. And so there are around 15 to 16,000 seats available. But in 189, usually there is 2 visa categories. One is skill independent category for an applicants who are applying through expression of interest pathway. Other one is like through New Zealand citizen stream pathway as well. So they have some quota out of that for the New Zealand stream as well. So however, the total number of quota has been increased compared to like previous 2 years. But we need to see in that how many invite actually they go for a skill independent pathway and how many they will go for the New Zealand stream pathway. There are like other state pathways visa, which is 190 and 491. So 190 is state nomination pathway and 491 is a similar state nomination pathway, but it is for the regional pathways. So for like 190, as I discussed, like it's a state nomination pathway. So you need to have minimum 60 points from your end, and 5 points you can get it from the state where like wherever you are applying. And for 491, you need to have minimum 50 points, and you can get a 15 points extra by applying into the state in the regional area. So total, it will make it 65 points anyhow. And 491 is like permanent residency pathway for future. So you'll get the visa for 5 years, and you need to live and work in regional for 3 years. And after 3 years, you can apply for 191 visa, that is a permanent residency. And in 491, there is an additional pathway, which is a family sponsored visa. So that means like if you have any relative here for you or your partner, who is like your brother, sisters, uncle, aunt, or your first cousin, and if they are permanent residents or citizen and living in regional Australia, as per the postcode available on immigration, then they can give you 15 points, same as like state nomination pathway. And you can wait, you can lodge an expression of interest, and you can wait for the invite for a 491. And once you get a 491 visa, it's the same thing. Like you need to go in regional and live over there for 3 years, work there for 3 years, earn minimum like 53,900 every year. And after 3 years, you can apply for the permanent residency through 191 visa. And the last category, which is employer sponsored visa. So for an employer sponsored visa, there are like temporary employer sponsored visa, which is like 407 training visa, 482, which is like temporary skill shortage visa. And the permanent residency pathways visas like 186, which is an like ENS employee nomination scheme visa. Then a 494, which is skill employment sponsor regional visa, which is similar to 491, but it is like a sponsor visa from your employer. And you need to work again like with the employer for 3 years on a 494 and live in regional as well for 3 years. And after 3 years, you can apply for 191 visa. So 407 training visa, usually people apply in this nursing category when they came from overseas and they want to train themselves for a like provisional registration and like get a training as a nurse in any hospital. So most of the hospitals apply for a 407 visa for a nurses or a 482 temporary sponsor visa. So they can get their full registration here in between, and or they can get the required training in Australia as per the registration requirement and apply for the full registration and skill assessment later on. And then they can go for the further permanent residency pathway through employer sponsor visa. So I hope I have cleared the all of the visas which are important in this category. However, if you still have any questions, you can ask in the chat box and I will cover it at the end. So that's like we already discussed about this occupation, but these are the occupations categorized into the long-term and short-term occupation list. So long-term usually refer to the 189 skill independent category, 491 family sponsored category, 186 direct entry stream visa category, whereas short-term would be for like 491, 190 visa in the 494 category visa. So as you can see, there are lots of different specialist occupation in nursing, So registered nurse like in aged care, in child and family health, community health, critical care and emergency, disability, mental health, So some students or clients have questions like how we can get that specialized occupation, So you don't need to do any specialized study for that one. You need to do whatever you have studied, normally for your bachelor or master course. But you need to work in that occupation or in that specialist skill into the hospital. So if you work into the hospital for that specialist skills for more than 3 months or something, then you can request for your skill assessment to be assessed for that occupation, like in aged care and all, like in community health. And there is a standard one registration, as a registered nurse. So there are no specialist registration nurse or occupation, but that will be updated by NMAC, for the skill assessment. So you need to see what are your roles and responsibility in which specific industry you are working into that nursing category, and then we can apply for the skill assessment based on that. So as I advised, like for 189 and the family category, there was a round in April 2022 and cutoff points was around 85. There were some occupations in nurses which were invited at 90 points as well. And for 491 family, you can see that they have invited around 65 to 70 points, So if you have relatives here, that is a good pathways to apply for a family sponsored visa if they're living in regional. And for July 2022, as a predictive analysis, I advised that there are like more number of quota available for the 189. So hopefully there will be more or higher invites, compared to last year in the health sector and in other sectors as well. And in 491 category as well, they have doubled their quota almost. So that's why we are expecting a good number of invitation compared to last year for this financial year. Yes, so now we'll be discussing about the like state nomination pathway. So as I already briefed you about what are the 190, 491 PR pathways for a different states. So again, I will tell you 190 is a state nomination, and that is a straight away permanent residency pathways. Whereas 491 is a regional pathway for a permanent residency, and that also has a two category. One is family sponsor, which I discussed, and this is about the 491 through a different state. So let's say if you're studying in Western Australia, so what would be the requirement to get the 190? What would be the requirement to get the 491 visa over there? So we'll be discussing for each state, yeah, so this will be based on the last year financial year, so 2021-2022 requirements. As the new financial year update has not been announced except Western Australia. So we are waiting for those announcements as well. hopefully we will get those updates by end of this month. So we'll be sharing those details through our Facebook page as well. So like follow our Facebook page for more latest information. But I will tell you what would be the predictive information or predictive requirements for this financial year as well. So we'll start with the Victoria state nomination for 190 and 491. So as I said, it should be expected to open by this month, so most likely by end of the July at least. And what were the occupations available before? So like midwife, registered nurse, aged care, critical care and emergency, registered nurse, mental health, and registered nurse perioperative. So they have like in Victoria specifically, they have invited applicants who are working in target sectors. So there were different target sectors like health sectors, digital sectors, manufacturing, and the like renewable energy sectors. But we have seen lots of invites for the health sectors at the end of the year. So we have received lots of invite for registered nurse around January to April, I would say. So and I have mentioned about the process for the Victoria. So you need to lodge first an expression of interest. Then there is a registration of interest, which called ROI to Victoria State nomination. So in ROI, there are like 3 or 4 questions they are asking that what studies you have done, how your studies and experience will help in Victoria, where you are working. So whatever role you are working, how it will help as in target sectors in Victoria. And once your ROI will be selected, we need to apply for the nomination application. And if your nomination application has been selected, then we need to apply for the visa. And currently we have seen a trend that the visas for registered nurse has been processed for fast track. Like we can see application to be granted in 3 months, 4 months time, So definitely they are, as you can see, targeting that they really require more nurses in Australia, And so what are the requirements, or what were the requirements for 190 and 491 for Victoria? So one of the critical requirement was living in Victoria for both 190, 491. And you need to be working in your occupation in target sector. So you should be working as an RN in anywhere in Victoria for 190, and for 491, you should be working and living in regional Victoria. And the points requirement were 65. So it was not necessary to have a good pathway for applicants who are in Victoria and studying study nursing courses. And I think we believe that they have invited around 50% of their quota for a health occupations, Okay, yeah, we'll go for the New South Wales. So for a 190, 491 and both visa category. So all of the occupations were open, and we have received many invites in those categories. So even New South Wales had very huge number of quota, around 7,000 for last financial year almost. And we have seen that they have also prioritized registered nurse. And we have received some of the invites for enroll nurse as well for 491. And what were the requirement for the 190 and 491? So for 190, there used to be requirement of living over there for 3 months, or you should be working in nominated occupation. And whoever have higher points, they should be invited first. So first come, first serve. If you're living over there or working over there, you will be prioritized to get the invite. For 491, there were 3 streams. So stream 1 is living and working in regional New South Wales for 1 year, and then you can get the invite. Stream 2 would be studying 2 years in regional New South Wales, and stream 3 would be job offer later in regional New South Wales, or you can apply from basically anywhere in Australia. But we have seen that they used to invite applicants who were staying in regional New South Wales, rather than if you are living in Victoria or living in Queensland, and if you're applying for a stream 3 for the regional New South Wales, then they have not invited many applicants because they used to prioritize applicants who are living over there. and at least working over there. And they had enough available applicants already living in regional New South Wales. So that's why they didn't invite applicants who are living outside of regional New South Wales, or at least outside of New South Wales state, So these are the different regional, which were active for 491 New South Wales. So like Central Coast, Central West, Far South Coast, Far West, Hunter, Illawarra, Mid-North Coast, Northern Inland, Northern Rivers, Orana, Riverina, Southern Inlets, and Sydney Regional. So each regional had their own occupation list for a Stream 3 category. Stream 1 category had the same list for all of the regional areas. So if you're applying for a Stream 3, you must need to check that your nursing qualification was over there or not. And hopefully they will come up with a similar requirement as well, Stream 1, Stream 3, because I think they had a good success into those categories. They might change here and there, like in terms of occupations for each state, each regional area. And hopefully we'll get the information by July or August for New South Wales. Now for South Australia, and I would say South Australia was quite a popular state in Australia for a state nomination, at least for last financial year, as we have seen lots of invites for different occupations, not only in health category, but they have invited in like engineers and IT and all of the occupations. And they had around total 5,200 quota for last financial year. And as overall quota has been increased for 190491, hopefully their quota would be increased as well. And we are waiting for that data about how many quota has been received by each state. Now all of the registered nurse were already included in that list, and we are waiting for the new occupation list for the South Australia. And they had a graduate pathway and talent and innovator program pathway. So graduate pathway was like if you have studied over there, if you have worked over there after study, or if you are like if you have not studied, but if you have worked over there for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, there used to be a pathway for 490491. And if you were long-term residents, then also they had a pathway like if you were staying over there for 3 years, you should have been getting 491. Or if you are staying over there for 5 years, they had a 190 pathway as well for the long-term residents. There was a good pathway for like living and working in outer South Australia, like outer regional South Australia. So if you are living in outside of Adelaide, and they have listed the postcode, then if you work for 1 year in any occupation, then they used to invite for 491 after lodging a registration of interest. And if you used to work in your occupation in regional South Australia, then they used to invite quicker for 491. And even some of the occupations were available for 190 as well, easily for regional South Australia if they worked in your occupation. And again, like steroid pathway available for graduates. So if you were SU graduates, and there are certain there were certain pathways about like if you have higher CGPAs and all, then they used to get an exemption from the work experience requirement, and they can apply for the state nomination straight away. And they used to invite at least we can see around 65 to 70, 80 points as well in last financial year. So for the essay graduate pathway, there used to be a requirement of studying like bachelor or higher qualification, and you should be working in your occupation for last 3 months. And there was an exemption if you are essay graduate and like if you have studied PhD or master by research, or if you have a GPA of 6 or higher in master by course degree, or if you if you did first class honors in dedicated honors year, and GPA of 6 or higher in bachelor degree. So this used to be their exemptions category for work experience requirement for graduate pathway. And applicant seeking a work experience waiver must be registered with HEPRA. That means like definitely if you have a registration, then only you get a skill assessment. And if you have a skill assessment, then only you can apply for the state nomination pathway. So hopefully they will keep the similar requirement for this financial year as well for essay, because they'll be receiving more quota compared to last year. And this was just normal requirement that you must be living over there in South Australia for 491190. And depending on your nursing occupation, if you are in Adelaide, if you used to work for 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months, in Greater Adelaide or Outer Regional Area, you should have applied for 190 or 491. Okay, yeah. So now we'll go for further Queensland. So as we know that currently it's closed as compared as all other states. So it is expected to open again in July or August, and so most of the occupations for nursing were included in the state nomination occupation list last financial year. And they used to have the requirement for like living for 491 specifically living and working in regional Queensland in your nominated occupation for at least 3 months immediately before lodging the EOI. And you should be working like full-time post-qualification and at least 35 hours per week. And you need to provide that you have ongoing employment with a Queensland regional employer for further 12 months, and you're giving a commitment to live in Queensland for 3 years after your visa grant. Similarly, for 190, there is to be requirement of like living and working in Queensland anywhere for 6 months full time after your qualification, and it should be immediately before your EOI. And they used to invite for 491, 190 based on their requirements about different occupation group as per the state requirement. And whoever has higher points, they have prioritized compared to the lower points applicants. Western Australia. So Western Australia actually was quite a popular state last year as well, because they have invited applicants with lower points compared to different states. You know, as Western Australia closed their border during the COVID time with different states as well. So there was no movement from interstate to the Western Australia. So whoever was in like Western Australia during the COVID time, studied over there or worked over there, if they had a job offer later in their occupation, they used to get the invite with like 70 points, maybe 65 points as well. However, this year points might be increased because there is a movement. So people are moving from different state to Western Australia. So there might be higher points applicant as well. But definitely it is a good state, and they have already requested for a like additional quota for the last financial year as well. And hopefully they will get more number of quota compared to last financial year in 2022-2023. And most of the occupations for nursing were available in Western Australia. So for graduate occupation list, EN and RN occupations were not there actually. So everyone who studied EN and RN, they used to be requirement of like living in have announced that if you have a 12 months of full-time job contract and if you have like 12 months of experience, then you can apply for the W state nomination. They have open for all over Australia applicants, but they have prioritized applicants who are living in Western Australia. So they will first choose the applicants even with lesser points who are already living and have a job offer or working in Western Australia. So yeah, so Northern Territory. So Northern Territory, it's I think not that much popular due to less number of quota and the I would say the government, I think having a stricter requirement compared to the different state, and it is a more regional. However, like if you have studied over there and if you have work experience for 6 months, or if you stayed in like Northern Territory for 6 months after completing the study, then you have good pathway for 190. And if you have not stayed in NT after completing your study over there for 2 years, and then you can apply for 491 as well. So the only good pathway for Northern Territory will be graduate pathway, which is like short. They should invite you for 190, 491 if you meet the requirement. There are like living and working requirement as well. Like if you're living there for 2 years, working in 12 months for 12 months in NT in your occupation, or at least living there for 12 months and working for 6 months full time, then go for 491. However, NT sometimes give you invites for like, let's say if you're eligible for 190 based on working and living pathway, Then if they want, they can choose for 491, rather than going for a 190. We have seen such cases. However, like if you think that you are planning to study and there are no courses available in other states where it is easy, go for an NT, complete your 2-year study, get your TR, stay there for 6 months, and most likely you'll get your 190 state nomination over there. So for Tasmania, so Tasmania used to be quite a popular state in 2017-18 as they have opened their state around that time with an easy requirement of like having a job offer or staying over there and get the invite. But as time passes, lots of applicants move over there in the last 3-4 years, So compared to the total quota they had in the last year, they used to add more applications, because they had more applicants living over there, as they just require you to have like 1 year of study and have a career plan in your occupation for a 491, or a 6 months full-time experience for a skill level 1, 2, 3 for a 491, or studying 2 years over there, and like you can apply for a 190 or a 6 months full-time experience in your occupation, and you can apply for a 190. But as I said, due to less number of quota compared to the applicants living over there or applicants eligibility, even if you were eligible for a 190, they used to give an invite for a 491, or they used to suggest you to get the invite for accept the invite for a 491. Or even if you're eligible for a 491, they used to refuse the invitation, stating that like they have a higher caliber applicants compared to your skill. If you are not working in your occupation, if you have not studied over there for 1 year, which is relevant to your skill, then they will hesitate to invite because they have more applicants over there, and they might be studying or working in their occupation. Then they will be prioritized first compared to your application if you're not working or studying in your occupation. So that was the reality for the Tasmania state nomination application for the last financial year, I would say. Hopefully they will get more quota for this financial year, and they will invite more number of applicants, and they should not refuse the applicants. At least if all of the applicants are eligible, they should be invited, like rather than refusing that they have more applications, more applicants already, and they don't have enough quota. Yeah, so these already we discussed about the state nomination requirement for 190 and 491. Yeah, so I think last one would be for the ACT, Australian Capital Territory. So that is like, again, for 190, 491, they have a simpler process, I would say. So if you are staying over there, and like if you are working there for 3 months in any occupation, or working there for 6 months full time in your occupations, then you might be eligible for a 491 or 190. And they have a unique pathway to apply for the state nomination. So you need to be having enough Canberra matrix points to apply, and they invite based on whoever have a higher Canberra matrix points. So Canberra matrix points is not same as an expression of interest federal government points. For example, Canberra doesn't have a points for age, they doesn't have a point for a CCL. They are giving Canberra matrix points based on your length of stay in Canberra, your length of work in Canberra, which occupation you are working in Canberra, and what level of qualification you have studied in Canberra, for how long you have studied in Canberra. Do you have any investment in Canberra? Do you have any relative in Canberra? Or like if you have your spouse, then if they are working over there, if they have studied over there, what is the level of their English level? What is the level of your English level? So these are the different criterias, and you need to have the combination of those criterias and get the Canberra matrix points, and then we can apply for the state nomination. So I would say the points would range around 70 to 80 points. If you have that many points, you can get a good chance to get the invite for 190-491 in ACT. So yeah, we already discussed about these requirements, like for working for 6 months for 190-491 for 3 months, and having a Canberra matrix points as well. So we are waiting for the like a state quota pathway for each state. So we should get the all of the information by end of July or August at least. So whoever is waiting for to move in different state to meet the requirement of the state nomination, then I would suggest to wait for this time, for a couple of weeks, or at least once you get the 3-4 state nominations guidelines and the occupation list, then we have a better information to assess, and better we can guide you in a better way where you can move and where you can get an invitation easily, because if you move, for example, before getting the any information, what if your occupation will not open in that state, so again you need to move in different state if your occupation is not available. So thus wait for some time. If you don't have an urgency of moving in different state, if your visa is still valid for 1 to 2 years, then you should wait for the information from the different states. And yeah, so thanks for attending the session. I hope we have cleared all your questions about the education and migration. We'll be answering the questions soon, but we are having another sessions as well for today and until Friday. So if you are not like willing to study nursing, or if you are from a different occupation background, just choose appropriate pro session, as per your requirement, and try to attend the session. And we hope that mostly we'll try to cover all of the details about the for that occupation. So yes, Michelle, I would suggest you to start the questions if you received it.
Yeah, thank you, Nirab. That was a very much informative session when it lines to migration. I will start taking question. There's a one question that I have been left out in related to the admission course related, coming from Balkaran S. What if I have done bachelor's in nursing in India? Can you please answer this question? Should I do master or can I do OBA? So, Bakaran, if you are a registered nurse in India, if you have completed bachelor degree, you are not eligible to do the Master of Nursing coursework. Okay, you can do for registration purposes, you cannot do the Master of Nursing coursework because they are not accepting if you are already RN from your origin country. But you can do the Master of Nursing Advanced. However, you cannot get the registration as well. So my suggestion to you, if you already have minimum work experience within the last 5 years, you can do a conversion course of Bachelor of Nursing just for 1 year. Okay, or you can do the OBA as well, which is the outcomes-based assessment. So that's from Balkran. Moving forward with the migration question, Dipankar S, I would like to acknowledge her because she's quite been active raising questions and giving shout out for us. Hello, could you tell me about enrolled nurse scope for 491 and which region or state? I believe it was covered, but if you want to comment on that, Mira.
Yes, Michelle, so that was about the best state for the EN and RN, right?
Yes, tell me about enrolled nurse scope for 491 and which region is more
Yes, I
accepting.
think, for an EN, as it is like lower level qualification, like studying diploma, and after 2 years you can get the registration and the assessment straight away, compared to different occupation, like in a trade, you need to do a study for a year, you need to have 1 year of experience to get the assessment. So scope for an EN to get the skill assessment is very easy. We just need to get the registration, get 7 each, get the license, and the skill assessment. And most of the states are available for an EN, as long as you are working in that state in your occupation. So if you will be working in your occupation, if you have at least reasonable points around 70 to 80 points, you have a good chance to get the invite. But if you just want to apply based on study, then you need to choose the particular state, because not all the state have the study pathways, just only study pathways, as most of the state require study plus work, or at least work in your nominated occupation. So, and I believe that the applicants should wait for some time as I said, for the updated information from different states, and then they can choose to move in any particular state.
Right, thank you. Next question coming from Diksha. I have positive skills assessment in enrolled nurse. I am a long resident in Adelaide in South Australia. I am working as a carer in aged care from last 7 years. Any chance for me for 190?
So actually, there used to be a pathway for long-term residents. I think they have closed currently, So there used to be the comment of like living in SA for 5 years, And I believe there was no such requirement for working in the nominated occupation, but I would suggest wait for the updated requirement. So because if you are living there for 5 years, then you should definitely get the invite for 190 as per the last year requirement. But we need to wait for the updated information, and then we can give you a better suggestion on that one once they will open for this financial year.
Right. Next question coming from Arnold K. Hi, I finished enrolled nursing course this December 2022, I believe. Do I qualify for 485 visa? Beforehand, I already studied and obtained a diploma in IT in Australia. This has happened in a span of 3 years, leading to completion of my EN this December.
So yes, I mentioned in the session as well, So previously, like all the applicants who studied Diploma of Nursing, they were not eligible for the TR before 1st of July, as there was a requirement of a provisional skill assessment for a graduate workstream pathway, and that too for the medium and long-term list. So now they have removed the skill assessment, provisional skill assessment requirement for the TR. So they don't need to like have a skill assessment for a long-term list. So whatever study they have done, they should be eligible to apply for the like temporary graduate visa. However, for the TR, you can apply if your last study was in last 6 months, and if your last student visa was also in last 6 months. So if you are not meeting one of that requirement, you might need to meet the requirement, and then you can apply for TR.
Right. Okay. Another question. Is there any option to start nursing without 7 each? Okay, I can answer this question. Unfortunately, for nursing admission, you are required minimum upon enrollment. If you don't have the English requirement, there are some providers that they could package your principal course with their minimum English course before you can commence the course. So you can package it with English. It depends which provider are offering packaging with English course prior to the commencement. But if you're talking about PTE IELTS, it should be upfront requirement minimum. Next question. I have both registration 1 year experience as EN and 6 months experience as RN. Which pathway is better for me?
I would suggest you for an RN, even if you have 6 months experience, because there are more state nomination pathway like 190, and 491 for an RN. EN is still good pathway, but most likely you might be getting 491 in EN for a skill regional visa. But as you have an experience as an RN, if you keep continuing your work as an RN, you can get good opportunity for 190 permanent residency pathway as well.
Right. Another question from Balkaran. What if I have done Bachelor of Nursing in India? Again, sorry. You have to either do Bachelor of Nursing conversion or OBA for that matter. I will be graduating as an RN by the end of this year. I am in Sydney right now. My question is, what is the best time to consult you guys? Example, after I graduate or before? Also, will I have to move to regional NSW to get PT, or I can get it in Sydney too, seeing there are so many vacancies and staff shortages?
So as you studied your course in New South Wales, Sydney, so there could be an invite for the 190 for you, but definitely you need to be having a higher points. I would recommend you to get the points around 85 to 90. So if you have 85 to 90 points, and if you're working in RN, you get a good opportunity to get the 190 over there. And if you're planning to apply for a 491, then I would suggest you to move in regional New South Wales and start to work in your field as well. And over there, you might get the invite for 491 with lesser points, around 75 or 70 points as well. But if your focus is on 190, then only thing it will increase your chances would be higher points.
Good. Next question. I'm finishing bachelor. Okay, finished question. The next one is, I have just finished EN from TAFE SA, South Australia. What are the options and working as personal care assistant?
So yes, as you said, 2 years over there or 1.5 year, you might be eligible for a SA graduate pathway. So there used to be a requirement for like 3 months of experience as an EN, or there were a pathway available for working as a PCA or aged care worker as well, for an EN, but they have closed currently. So you need to wait till new financial year requirement. But most likely, if you're studied over there and if you're working over there for 3 months in EN, then there would be better chances compared to working as a like PC or aged care worker.
Right. Next question. It's coming from Luda. I'm currently on my TR in Victoria and finished my master in public health. I want to know, if I do Master of Nursing in Victoria, will I be able to get 190 or should I consider a different state?
So for Victoria, let's say if you're studying Master of Nursing, there is no graduate pathway available in Victoria. So wherever, like if you want, you can study in different state. In Victoria, usually they are inviting based on the higher number of points, and if you're working in your occupation or not, So if you're just planning to study and apply for 190 straight away, it won't be possible. After studying, you need to work as well for maybe 6 months to 1 year, and then there could be a chance of getting 190. And that too, if you have like a good number of points, I would say around 80 points or more.
Okay, one more question from Kivalia D. I have question regarding points claim for the different assessment. If someone is working in an aged care and mental health simultaneously, an applicant has assessment under registered nurse NEC, would that applicant eligible to claim points under this occupation with working in aged care?
Yes, you can, because for the aged care or any specialist qualification, usually for the ANZ score, all the first 4 ANZ score are same, so only last 2 digits are different. So if you're working is in a closely related occupation, so as like if your first 4 digits are common, you can claim points for the other occupation, but you have to make sure that first 4 digits of the occupations you are working and you have a skill assessment that should be same.
I would like to add on to that, Nirav, for Cavalia's question. If you are a registered registered nurse with NEC ANSCO code, and then you're working in an aged care facility and at the same time mental health, you can step up by applying another ANSCO code or ANMAX skills assessment, either mental health or aged care nurse, rather than sticking into the NEC. Am I correct?
Multiple assessment based on your experience, as you are working in specialist occupation. So definitely if you're working for more than 3 months or something in your specialist occupation, you can request NMEC to change your occupation code as well. As compared to a NEC registered nurse, there are good chances for aged care or, like mental health, maybe wherever you are staying in whichever state.
Right, thank you. I will take a few more questions. Hi from Bargav J. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly. Hi Nirav, hope you are doing well. I have a question for overseas RN. Want to do the clinical examination in Adelaide, so does the applicant has to apply business visitor visa or a normal tourist visa?
So they can apply for business visitor visa or a normal tourist visa. Both would be all right. As like because they will have an like invitation from an assessment or like exam board here, so they can come here on a business visitor visa, and we used to apply for a normal tourist visa as well to come for an exam. So that's fine, because they are not coming here for a work, so that should be all right.
Right. If you are here on Australia on a visitor visa and you wanted to further your study, then they can convert to do further course as well. Where does EN stand for migration when only registered nurse is eligible? It depends.
Can you repeat it?
Where does EN stand for migration when only registered nurses are eligible?
I need to read the question just a moment.
There's so many questions. So where does EN stand for migration?
Means like
It depends which state in regional area, because as taking her question, it is like if only registered nurse are more eligible than EN, then where does enrolled nurse stand for migration purpose?
so again, like it depends, as you said, that it depends on the state, because each state has a different requirement. But compared to RN, definitely EN will have a less number of quota or invites from each state, because RN is like quite a more popular and more skilled occupation. So if you're comparing EN and RN, I would suggest to go for an RN.
Nice. From Apurva. Hello, Apurva here, living in South Australia from 3 years and doing EN about to finish in December 2022. Working in aged care. Oh, I lost it. Where is that? Sorry.
That's fine. Lots of questions.
There are so many questions, but we don't have much time to answer everyone. So maybe we can get 5 more questions and then we can end the session wrap. Or
true, and like if anyone have any questions, so like you can contact, as I said, to our nearest branch, and we will definitely try to solve all of your questions and give you better guidance about where to move, what would be your next step and all. As like we have a limitation of the time, as we are having a different
that's
sessions.
correct. Yeah.
We will try to cover next 3-4 questions maybe, and then we will end the session.
All right. I'll pick randomly. What ANSCO code for RN has higher chances of receiving invitations in WA?
In WA, actually, ANZ score doesn't matter mostly. As long as if you are working, have a work experience and living over there, most of all of the occupations they will invite. ANZ score usually matter, I would say, in Victoria. There was like they used to invite aged care and the mental health or emergency critical care, Whereas in WA, I believe that like they were inviting similarly for most of the RN occupations.
I guess one more question, which is a relevant question. What is skills assessment again? I'm about to graduate from Bachelor of Nursing RN in WA. When should I do the skills assessment? That's from Kai Ki. I guess his very fresh question from him. What is skills assessment, Zira? And he's finishing RN in WA.
You will be completing your study soon, so you should first try to register yourself with an APRA, okay? And once you get your registration through APRA as an RN, that next step would be getting a skill assessment through NMAC. And once you get the skill assessment, then we can apply for the expression of interest in WA if you are eligible.
Right. Can I answer one question for admission process? Hi, I finished my Bachelor of Nursing in India in 2017, and I have 2 years experience in hospital in India. Now I am doing Master of Public Health and it's finished in August. Can I do conversion course? This question coming from Suk. Suk, if you have minimum 1 year work experience from the last 5 years. So you mentioned you completed in Bachelor in 2017 with 2 years experience. If that experience is within the last 5 years, then yes, you are eligible to do Bachelor of Nursing conversion just for 1 year, and you can get the nursing registration in Australia. Okay, Nirav, it has been 2 hours informative questions. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, guys, we cannot answer all of your questions. There has been many questions. You can drop your query. One of our back team members that are putting their information where you can contact Nirav or me or the rest of the Aussizz group team, where we can give you one-on-one consultation, or you can visit our office wherever near to you. Nirav, any final words to our audience?
Nothing much. Thank you everyone, for attending the session and taking your time. So as we try to cover most of the information and most of the questions, but due to limitation of time, we're not able to cover all of the questions, as Michelle said. So try to contact me or Michelle or any of our Aussizz team member nearest to your location, and we'll try to help you. And as last, we have mentioned about the giveaways, so try to tag Aussizz group or Aussizz group conclave 2022, post about it, on Instagram or on Facebook, and you can able to win the free PT coaching for 2 months, free CCL coaching, free TR consultation, free PR consultation, So I hope everyone has received all the information which you require. And if you are willing to attend different sessions, we are having different sessions today and up to Friday as well. So please register for that one as per your occupation requirement, and it will be as quite informative as we had today. So thank you everyone for attending this.
And also, just to add on to that, Nirav, this recorded session will be uploaded to the official Aussizz group YouTube page. We will be posting all the recordings for the entire conclave session for this week. Post the conclave that will be probably in the next 1 week or 2 weeks. So hang in there, and you can repeat the session if you missed this out or your friends. Have a good one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Everyone can leave the session now. Thank you.